The wine coursed through my veins like molten fire as William Harrington's words unfolded in slow motion. My nails dug crescent shapes into my palms while the room around me faded into a blur. His voice was somehow both muted and piercingly sharp. "My son deserves better than someone from the gutter," he declared, facing a room filled with his country club friends, business partners, and now frozen family members, street trash in a borrowed dress, pretending to belong. 23 sets of eyes flicked between William and me, waiting to see if the nobody dating the prince would dare answer the king. My heartbeat thumped in my throat as I carefully folded the napkin, likely more expensive than my first apartment's rent, and set it beside my untouched plate of overpriced salmon. "Thank you for dinner, Mr. Harrington," I said, rising slowly. "And thank you for finally speaking your truth. My name is Sapphira. I'm 32 and a self-made entrepreneur. This is the story of how I turned a public humiliation into the priciest lesson a man has ever learned." "Sapphira, don't." Quinn grabbed my hand. I pressed my fingers gently against his, then let go. "It's okay, love. Your father's right. I should know my place." The smirk on William's face was unforgettable, that smug expression of a man who thought he'd won, believing he had finally chased away the street rat who dared touch his precious son. If only he knew. I walked out of the dining room with my head held high, past the Monet in the hallway, past the servants avoiding my gaze, past the Bentley in the driveway that William had made sure to mention cost more than I'd earned in 5 years. Through the marble foyer and out to the circular driveway where my car waited, I stepped lightly. Quinn caught up to me at my sensible Toyota, the very car William had sneered at. "I'm so sorry," he said, tears streaming down his cheeks. I had no idea he would. I pulled him close, inhaling the mix of his cologne and the salt of his tears. "It's not your fault. I'll talk to him. I'll make him apologize." No, I tucked a strand of his dark hair behind his ear. "No more apologizing. No more making excuses. He said exactly what he's thought all year. At least now we know where we stand. Zephyra, please don't let him ruin us." I kissed his forehead. "He can't ruin what's real. Quinn, I'll call you tomorrow, okay?" He nodded reluctantly as I drove away from the Harrington estate, watching the mansion shrink in my rearview mirror, its lights sparkling like stars I was supposedly never meant to touch. Before I even hit the main road, my phone buzzed. I ignored it, guessing it was either Quinn's mother, Rachel, trying to smooth things over, or his sister, Patricia, offering awkward sympathy. They weren't bad people, just weak, too scared of William to ever challenge him. But I had more pressing calls to make. Merging onto the highway, I voice-dialed my assistant. "Danielle, I know it's late. Miss Cross, is everything all right?" Danielle had been with me for 6 years, long before the world knew who Zephyr Cross really was. She read me like an open book. "Cancel the Harrington Industries merger." Silence. Then, "Ma'am, we're supposed to sign the papers Monday. Due diligence is complete, financing secured." "I know." "Kill it. The termination fees alone will be." "I don't care about the fees. Send the notice to their legal team tonight. Cite irreconcilable differences in corporate culture and vision." Sapphira, Danielle dropped the formalities, which only happened when she thought I was making a mistake. "This is a $2 billion deal. What happened at dinner?" "He called me garbage, Danielle. In front of a room full of people, he made it clear someone like me will never be enough for his family, or by extension, his business. That bastard." I could hear her fingers flying over the keyboard through the phone. "I'll have legal draft the termination papers within the hour. Want me to leak it to the financial press?" "Not yet. Let him wake up to the official notice first. Media can have it by noon tomorrow." "Certainly, ma'am. Anything else?" I paused for a moment. "Yes. Schedule a meeting with Fairchild Corporation for Monday. If Harrington Industries refuses to sell, perhaps their biggest rival will. You're planning to acquire his competitor instead? Why not? Trash tends to stick together, doesn't it?" I ended the call and drove the remaining distance to my penthouse in silence. The city lights streaked past, each one a quiet reminder of how far I'd come from the kid who had slept in shelters and survived on free school lunches. William Harrington believed he knew me. He thought he'd done enough research to understand the woman dating his son. He knew I'd grown up poor, that I started working at 14, and that I had put myself through community college and then university on sheer willpower and an unhealthy dose of caffeine. What he didn't know was that the scrappy girl he'd looked down on had quietly built a corporate empire. Cross Technologies, the very company his firm was now desperately trying to merge with to stay relevant in the tech era, was mine. Over the last decade, I had been quietly acquiring patents, poaching talent, and positioning myself strategically to become the kingmaker of our industry. He didn't know because I kept it hidden, using holding companies and trusted executives as the public face of my operations. I had learned early that real power came from being underestimated, from letting blowhards like William believe they held all the leverage. Pulling into my building's garage, my phone lit up with an incoming call, Harrington's CFO Martin Keating. That was sooner than I expected. He had my personal number from previous merger discussions for urgent matters. Zafira, it's Martin. I'm sorry to call so late, but we just received a notice from Cross Technologies terminating the merger agreement. There must be some mistake. No mistake, Martin. But we're supposed to sign on Monday. The board has already approved it. Shareholders are expecting. Then perhaps the board should have considered that before their CEO publicly humiliated me at dinner tonight. Silence on the other end. Then quietly, period. What did William do? Ask him yourself. I'm sure he'll give you his version. Good night, Martin. I hung up and headed to my penthouse, pouring a scotch before stepping onto the balcony to watch the city drift into sleep. Somewhere out there, William Harrington's evening was about to unravel. I wondered whether he would connect the dots immediately or if it would take time for him to realize that the garbage he dismissed controlled the very thing his company needed to survive the next fiscal year. My phone buzzed. Quinn was calling. I let it ring through to voicemail, unwilling to let my anger at his father spill over into my love for him. He didn't deserve to be caught in the crossfire. Some battles, however, were unavoidable. By morning, my phone displayed 47 missed calls. William had tried to reach me 6 times himself, surely a torment for him. The mighty William Harrington, reduced to repeatedly calling someone he had once labeled trash. I was going over quarterly reports at breakfast when Danielle called. The financial press had caught wind of the canceled merger. Bloomberg wanted a statement. Tell them Cross Technologies has decided to explore other opportunities that better align with our values and vision for the future. Vague and devastating. I loved it. She paused. Then added, also, William Harrington is in the lobby. I nearly choked on my coffee. He's here. Showed up 20 minutes ago. Security won't let him upstairs without your go-ahead, but he's making a scene. Should I have him removed? No, I set my mug down, thinking, let him come up, but make him wait in the conference room for, say, 30 minutes. I'm finishing breakfast. You're evil, she said. I'll prep conference room C, the one with the uncomfortable chairs. 45 minutes later, I entered the conference room. William Harrington looked far less intimidating than he had the night before. His usually flawless hair was messy, his tailored suit creased. The man who had commanded dinner like royalty now looked like what he was, a desperate CEO watching his empire slip through his fingers. He stood when I walked in, and I could see how much effort it cost him. Thank you for seeing me. I sat without offering my hand. You have 5 minutes. He swallowed his pride like it was broken glass. I apologize for last night. My words were inappropriate. Inappropriate? I laughed. You called me garbage in front of your entire social circle. You humiliated me in your own home, at your own table, while I was there as your guest, and your son's girlfriend. I was drunk, he started. No, I cut him off. You were honest. Drunk words, sober thoughts. From the moment Quinn introduced us, You thought I was beneath you. You just finally said it out loud. William's jaw tightened. Even desperate, he couldn't mask his contempt. What do you want? An apology? You have it. A public statement. I'll make one. Just the merger needs to happen. You know it does. Why? I asked, incredulous. Why does it need to happen? Explain to me why I should do business with someone who fundamentally disrespects me. His face reddened. Because it's business. It's not personal. Everything becomes personal when you make it personal. I stood. You researched me, right? Dug into my background, foster homes, free lunch programs, night shifts at warehouses to pay for textbooks. He nodded reluctantly. But you stopped there, I continued. You saw where I came from and assumed you understood me. You never looked at where I was going. I gestured toward the city beyond the window. Do you know why Cross Technologies is successful, William? Because you have good products. No. Because I remember being hungry. I remember being dismissed, overlooked, underestimated. Every hire, every deal, every product, I ask myself if we're creating opportunity or just protecting privilege. I turned back to him. Your company represents everything I built mine to fight against: old money, protecting old ideas, keeping the doors closed to anyone who didn't inherit a seat at the table. That's what you are, isn't it? Name one board member who didn't go to an Ivy League school. One executive who grew up in poverty. One senior manager who worked 3 jobs just to pay for community college. His silence spoke volumes. The merger is dead, I said. Not because you insulted me, but because you revealed who you truly are, and more importantly, who your company truly is. This will destroy us, he said quietly. Without this merger, Harrington Industries won't survive 2 years. Then maybe it shouldn't. I headed for the door. Maybe it's time for the old guard to step aside for companies that judge people by their potential, not their pedigree. Wait. He jumped up so fast his chair tipped over. What about Quinn? You're going to ruin his father's company, his inheritance. I paused at the door. Quinn is brilliant, talented, and capable. He doesn't need an inheritance, he can build his own success. That's the difference between us, William. You see inheritance as destiny. I see it as a crutch. He may never forgive you. Maybe not, but at least he'll know I have principles that can't be bought or bullied away. Can you say the same? I left him there and returned to my office. Danielle was waiting, a stack of messages in hand and a knowing expression on her face. Fairchild Corporation wants to meet Monday morning. They're very eager to discuss an acquisition. Good. Make sure William hears about it by this afternoon. Already handled, the info has been leaked. She hesitated. Quinn is in your private office. My heart skipped a beat. How long? About an hour. I brought him coffee and tissues. How did he know to come? I asked. He called the office main line, asking for you. When I told him you were in a meeting with his father, he asked if he could wait. Given the circumstances, I thought you wouldn't mind, Danielle explained. After leaving William in the conference room, I made my way back to my private office, where Danielle told me Quinn was waiting. I found him curled in my desk chair, eyes red but dry. When he looked up, I saw the strength of his father and the gentleness of his mother in his face. Hi, he said softly. Hi. I heard what you told him, he continued. Danielle had let me watch through the conference room feed. I perched on the edge of my desk. And then, he stood, moving to stand between my knees. I think I've been a coward, he admitted, letting him treat you that way, making excuses, hoping it would get better. Quinn, no. Let me finish. He took my hands in his. I've spent my whole life benefiting from his prejudices without challenging them. Last night, watching him, I felt ashamed. Not of you, of him, of myself for not standing up sooner. What are you saying? I'm saying that, if you'll have me, I want to build something new with you, without my family's money, connections, or conditional approval. I pulled him close. Are you sure? Walking away from that inheritance isn't a small thing. He laughed, a sound so beautiful it made my chest ache. Zephyr Cross, you just ended a $2 billion merger because my father disrespected you. I think we'll figure out the money part. I love you, I said, more deeply than ever. I love you too. Even if you just declared corporate war on my father? Especially because I declared corporate war on your father, I replied. Especially because of that, he agreed, kissing me. My phone buzzed. Danielle again. Ma'am, William Harrington has called an emergency board meeting. Our sources suggest they might try going over his head to contact you directly. I put the phone on speaker. Tell them Cross Technologies could be open to discussing a merger with Harrington Industries under new leadership, I said. Stress the new part. Quinn's eyes went wide. You're seriously planning to remove my father from his own company? I'm just giving the board a choice, I replied. Adapt or fade away. What they decide with that choice is entirely up to them. He paused, thinking it over, then nodded slowly. He won't step aside quietly. I wouldn't expect him to. This isn't going to be pretty, I said. Most likely, he admitted. My mother will cry. Definitely. And my sister will write yet another awful song about family drama. God help us. She smiled, a sharp, beautiful smile, tinged with danger. So, when do we begin? She asked. I returned the smile. How about right now? And that's how the nobody dating the princess became the king who brought down the kingdom. Not with weapons or armies, but with a simple truth. Respect isn't given, it's earned. And those who refuse to offer it when it's due. Sometimes the garbage takes itself out and drags everything else down with it. By the following Monday, William Harrington was no longer CEO of Harrington Industries. By Tuesday, Cross Technologies announced a merger with the newly reorganized company. By Wednesday, Quinn accepted the role of head of strategic development, turning down her father's offer to fund a rival venture out of spite. By Thursday, William Harrington had learned the most expensive lesson of his life. Never call someone garbage unless you're ready to be thrown out with it. 6 months later, Quinn and I were engaged, planning a small, private ceremony far from her father's social circle. William hadn't spoken to either of us since being removed as CEO, though Quinn's mother called weekly, slowly rebuilding their relationship on honest new terms. Before you go, here's a little bonus for sticking around. If you're passionate about learning and self-growth like I am, you've got to try audiobooks. I've secured an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's over 500,000 titles at zero cost to you. All the details are in the description. Don't miss out.